Hi, I'm Michael. This is the Echo World's Magical Extras. It's really Sophia's turn. We're supposed to be alternating weeks, but she's awful busy designing our newsletter and the next issue of the Echo World magazine. So I get to two weeks in a row. How you lucky? Uh, as I said, we're experimenting with format, and we're getting some good response. People looking at it and people asking questions. One of the questions that keeps coming up is I do tarot and Coca readings, and people want to know what's a Coca reading, why do I do it with tarot readings, what is achieved by this? Does that mean I'm psychic? Well, here we are to talk about those things. We're all a little psychic. We're all intuitive if we let ourselves. But what I want to do is tell you my story. I mentioned more than once that I studied with the witches of Salem, Massachusetts when I was in high school. And there I learned to read the tarot cards. And I've been reading them ever since. So we're talking a few decades here. I like the Waite Tarot deck and have used it. Uh, for a little while, I was a bartender in San Francisco's financial district, and the daytime bartender did magic tricks, and they'd come in at night because I was the nighttime manager, and they want magic tricks. So I brought in my tarot cards, and I started reading for all of business districts for many months. Great practice. I got really good at it. But the coca leaves, well, the coca plant is a sacred plant and was a sacred plant in the Inca Empire and is a sacred plant in Peru, Bolivia, northern Chile. It, yes, it is what they make cocaine from, but in its raw form, it's not like cocaine, hardly at all. It's a little stimulant. When you go to Cusco and you check into a hostel or most hotels, there's a bowl of coca leaves right there that you take and you put into a tea. You make a tea out of it. That keeps you from getting altitude sickness. And altitude sickness flying into 13,000 feet can be pretty rough. It also gives you enough energy to explore Cusco and climb mountains. I've seen people climbing mountains with tables and chairs on their back chewing coca. Most of the Quechuan people chew coca. Most of the people in Bolivia chew coca, and it's used in that way. Back in the ancient Inca Empire, they developed many forms of fortune telling, uh, reading of the signs, reading the language of the gods. In the occult world, they say, as is above, so is below. What that means is that there's always ways to see some answer to your questions, either in tarot cards and coca leaves. They're a little bit like tea leaves, except, well, the first time I was in Peru, I was able to get a coca reading, didn't know what it was, and the fellow was quite good. Didn't charge much way back then. And I was in awe that he could throw these leaves on a table and I would, he could then tell me things about myself he couldn't possibly have known and hints at the future. So many times that I've gone back to Latin America, I've had coca readings and even studied with some of the coca readers to get the feel. Now, when I do the readings, I feel a whispering in my ears. And I believe it's Mama Coca, the goddess of the coca leaves. And she often tells me to say things that I don't know why she tells me that. Because people ask questions and I'm doing a coca reading. What I do is I take the leaves, I keep them in a bag, in a pouch, and I spread them out. And according to the pattern, or I have the person who I'm doing the reading to spread them out if they're here with me. And according to the pattern that they spread, it tells a lot about their past, their present, their future, how many problems they've had or will have, how their prosperity and happiness might be, how their creativity and spirituality might grow. And oftentimes I'll hear this whisper in my ear, and Mama Coca will say, ask him about his recent divorce. And I'll say, okay, this is a little out of line, but were you recently divorced? And the man will say, how did you know that? I didn't say anything. Uh, it'll say, tell them, the voice will say, tell her not to go to that doctor, to go to that doctor. So I don't know too much about these doctors, but I'm thinking you're supposed to go to this one. And the person will call me back um, a month later and say, I took your advice. I heard terrible things about the doctor I was going to go to, and this doctor did wonders. I'm not a miracle worker. I just hear voices. uh, but the Inca gods and goddesses have spoken to me uh, and other beings most of my life. And I function. We run two businesses. They do okay. I've run mega businesses. But the cards, the patents, the coca leaves, they're sacred. In Peru, they've been sacred forever. Some feel that the Apus, the spirits of the mountains, look down on them. Some say that depending on the day, different Incan gods and goddesses speak through them. And I feel that I really get a great, warm, happy feeling when I read for people, especially when it's done. Well, especially when people come back to me and say, that was so helpful. You told me things I didn't know. You told me things I didn't guess, and it really made a difference. It made me feel good. And if it makes people feel good and it helps them with their lives and I feel good from it, then I think the gods and goddesses, especially Coca Mama, are looking out for me. And and that's pretty much why I read coca leaves. The tarot fills in the blanks from the coca leaves for me. So I get to give two sets of divination tools, insights for people, and can't beat that. So I hope that answers the questions that have been asked, and I hope you're curious. Uh, there's more about it on my blog, michaelpeterlangevin.com, and you can email me at michaelpeterlangevin@gmail.com with any questions or to set up a reading. Thanks so much. Okay, there's the story of the day. Magical extras for the Echo World.